someone cuts you off in traffic. Your chest tightens, your hands grip the wheel a little harder, your face goes hot. You call it anger, and you assume it's going to last. But the real answer is far stranger than that. Your anger, biologically speaking, is already dying the moment it's born. Here's what almost nobody tells you. The chemical wave of an emotion, the actual physical event in your body, takes about 90 seconds to rise, peak, and clear out of your bloodstream. 90 seconds. That's it. After that, if you're still furious 20 minutes later, still replaying the argument in the shower, still fuming at dinner, something else is happening. You're not feeling the emotion anymore. You're feeding it. This idea comes from a neuroanatomist named Jill Bolte Taylor, who studied her own stroke from the inside while it was happening to her. When a blood vessel burst in her brain, she watched her rational mind go quiet and her emotional circuitry take over completely. What she noticed, once she recovered, was that the raw chemical surge of any emotion, grief, fear, rage, joy, follows the same short arc. It floods in, it peaks, and within a minute and a half, the hormones are metabolized and flushed out unless your thoughts keep restocking the fire. Think about what that means. The fight you're still angry about from 3 days ago isn't being kept alive by your body. It's being kept alive by your mind. Every time you replay the moment, every time you rehearse the comeback you should have said, you're not remembering the emotion, you're recreating it. You're triggering a brand new 90-second wave, over and calling it one long feeling. So why does it feel continuous? Why does sadness seem to sit on your chest for a week instead of a minute and a half? Because your brain isn't built to just experience a feeling, it's built to explain one. This is where a researcher named Lisa Feldman Barrett comes in. Her work on how emotions are built, not triggered, upended a lot of what psychology assumed for decades. Instead of a fixed set of feelings hardwired into your face and body, waiting to be switched on by the world, Barrett found that your brain is constantly predicting what's about to happen and constructing an emotional experience to match. It takes raw physical sensations, a racing heart, a tight jaw, a churn in your stomach, and it builds a story around them using memory, context, and language. Anger isn't a switch, it's a sentence your brain writes about a feeling in real time. Which means the sensation lasts 90 seconds, but the sentence can run forever. You know this feeling. You've had a knot in your stomach before a phone call, and by the time you actually made the call, the knot had physically dissolved, but the dread was still there, propped up entirely by the story in your head. Your body had already moved on. Your mind hadn't gotten the memo. There's an older body of research behind this too. Paul Ekman spent decades studying facial expressions across cultures, from remote villages in Papua New Guinea to city streets in the West, and found something remarkably consistent. Certain basic emotional expressions appear and fade on the human face in seconds, not hours. A flash of fear, a flicker of disgust, gone almost as fast as it arrived. What Ekman photographed on people's faces was the same short biological pulse Taylor would later describe from inside her own brain. So, if the wave itself is this brief, what turns a 90-second wave into a bad week? Rumination, the habit of chewing on a feeling long after its ingredients have been digested. Here's the strange part. Rumination doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like the emotion itself, dragging you back under. But every time you replay an argument, you're not accessing a stored feeling like a video file. You're manufacturing a new one, live, using the same ingredients. Your brain doesn't have a folder labeled "Yesterday's Anger" that it opens and replays. It has to build the anger again from scratch, using the thought as the trigger this time, instead of the original event. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If your feelings are this short by design, why does it feel like you have so little control over how long they actually stick around? Because civilization didn't design you. Evolution did, and it had a very different agenda. For most of human history, a 90-second burst of fear or rage was exactly enough time to react to a real threat. A predator in the grass, a rival at the fire. The chemical spike gave you the strength to run, fight, or freeze, and then it needed to clear out fast because staying flooded with stress hormones for hours would have been dangerous to your body. Evolution built you for short, intense bursts, not long, simmering states. The system was never designed for a boss's email you reread 6 times or a comment on a photo that you think about at 2 a.m. Your ancestors didn't have replay. You do. And that replay button is the whole reason short emotions start to feel endless. James Gross, a psychologist who has spent his career studying how people regulate their emotions, found something that fits neatly into this picture. The people who recover fastest from a strong emotional hit aren't the ones who suppress the feeling or pretend it isn't there. They're the ones who can name what's happening in the moment, let the physical wave pass, and then consciously choose not to reopen it with their thoughts. In other words, the emotion was never really the hard part. The story you tell about it afterward is. So the next time rage rises in your chest because someone cut you off, or your stomach drops because of a message you haven't opened yet, notice the clock that's already running. 90 seconds. That's the biological lifespan of the wave itself. What happens after that isn't chemistry anymore, it's narration. And narration is something you actually have a hand in writing. That doesn't mean you can just switch off grief, or talk yourself out of heartbreak, or will away real pain in 90 seconds flat. Life is more complicated than a stopwatch, but it does mean something quietly powerful. Underneath every emotional storm that seems to last for days, there was a much smaller, much shorter storm at the center of it, and everything after that first 90 seconds was built by you, thought by thought, sentence by sentence. So the next time your chest tightens and your hands grip a little harder, ask yourself something. Is this still the wave? Or is this the story you started telling about it 90 seconds after it was already gone?